Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Danica, it's great to see you.
I am delighted to be here.
I am really looking forward to this talk. This session, we're going to be talking about the science of self-talk. Is that right?
Yes, something that apparently 96% of us do, and one very famous hobbit as well.
I am really looking forward to this, and I've got lots of questions. We're going to have a great conversation. But I'm going to introduce you first to anyone who doesn't know you. So if you don't know Danica, she is a USA Today best-selling romance author, and you've been building and supporting authors for almost 20 years. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Um, and you've got amazing powers of connecting people and helping authors find the allies they need for a successful book launch, which is really fantastic. You've been the vice president for the Vancouver Romance Writers chapter and the founder of Author Ever After. Wonderful name,
Thank
wonderful title.
you.
Oh my God, that's perfect. The founder of Author Ever After, a membership that helps romance authors earn their first royalties and be successful in so many ways. So I want to hear more about how you help writers at the end.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk. What do you mean? Maybe we could get started. So what do you mean by self-talk? What is self-talk?
So self-talk is that thing that we all do and are told to do, encouraged to do, like writing affirmations, like where we sit and we think, oh, I am a writer, or you are a writer. And it's all of the, well, it's basically affirmations in the context of the way I want to talk about it today. And um, I can't imagine that there's a single person, a single writer who hasn't been told that they should be writing affirmations and putting them on their mirrors and on their fridge and on their monitors. And um, I mean, I certainly was told that, and we, heard it in many courses and read it in books, and was doing it in my trying to write fiction career, and it never worked, which for my
Okay.
personality made me go, why? Why is it not working for me? Yeah. So it is those things like that is self-talk when we address ourselves inside our own heads. Sometimes we talk out loud to ourselves as well, but that's what it is.
So, you're specifically, I think you're specifically talking about here this idea of like deliberate self-talk. Is that right? Like the idea that you should be having sort of leading the conversation with yourself. You should have like, I'm a great person. I'm a great writer. Is that right?
And it's not the negative self-talk. That's a whole other thing that's a different thing. But this kind of self-talk is that, I am a writer. I write every day. Um, it's giving ourselves the little pep talks. And what I found when I started researching, because that's what I love to do. I love brain science. And when something isn't making sense to me, like why the heck aren't affirmations working for me? I go and try to find out why, because I know I am not a unicorn. I know I'm pretty normal in the world. And so I found out that a ton of research has been done on why we have self-talk, like why we do this self-talk. And in part, um, it's just a way that we can work on our own mindset and productivity. It just kind of comes naturally to us. And lots of research has been done, but it wasn't until 2004, I think it was, when a researcher, and all of the research was like convoluted, like some were saying it works and others were saying it never works. And finally, a researcher said, wait a minute, let's distinguish between I, first person self-talk, and you, second person self-talk. And is there actually a difference in how they work in our brains? So that is what I would like to talk about and help people figure out if affirmations aren't working for you, if you've got all these things on your mirror saying, I write every day and I am a USA Today bestselling author, and they're not working for you, maybe there's a way that you can make them work for you just by finding the right affirmations that go with the motivation and the productivity that you're looking for. Is that making sense?
This is great. I mean, it's really applicable. So there's this idea that affirmation can be powerful, but when you looked at the research, you just found all kinds of results, you know,
That's right.
hard to pick out. So Okay, so what is the can I ask, like,
Yeah.
why was that idea of going from the question of first person and second person, why was that so significant?
Well, because the way we think about and the way we hear these affirmations in our mind is different. So when you're saying I, you're calling on, this first person. There's an if I say, for instance, I write every day. I want to motivate myself to write every day. And I start saying to myself, okay, I write every day. But I know that I don't write every day. I've never written every day. I'm not going to believe myself, right? So that affirmation is not going to be effective. However, in the research that was done that distinguished the two, they looked at the you, so the second person. So if I say in my head, you write every day, what they found was that people will associate that voice, even though it's me saying you write every day, with an outsider. So often it will be a teacher, a parent, or a boss who we can call on to say, you write every day, my parent says, or my boss, and we want to please that person. We want to deliver for that person. We respect that person. And so we actually respond better to the you in those situations. And they're actually, I don't know, jumping all over, but the distinction between an I self-talk, it works best when we're talking about things like writing affirmations that are things that we are feeling or we want to believe. Second persons typically work better for things that we need to do. So they're more active, and that was part of the findings of the research as well. And then there was a third research done, which actually took, so the you, am I talking too much?
This is great. I
Okay.
know, I'm so interested, and I got lots of questions, but I want to hear how
Okay,
this
okay.
works.
I'll give you the third kind then. The third kind of self-talk is the you. So the you that I referred to first is like a close second person, right? So we imagine seeing ourselves in the act of doing the thing that we are saying to ourselves. But there's a third you, which is sometimes called third person or sometimes called second person distant, right? So that's the same. And that is coming out of research, which is really exciting and fascinating to me. That was done in the United States after one of the American elections, or before one of the American elections. And what researchers did was they talked to people and they had them um, imagine themselves going and voting. And um, and then they were having people imagine not seeing, they were imagining themselves outside of themselves. So picture yourself as the person who is going to the voting station. Picture yourself so that you are or distant from yourself. And what they found was that in those situations, in a situation where a different kind of action is needed, that people who imagine themselves being the type of person who goes to vote, actually, those people voted more often than the control group who were asked to picture themselves in a like, I am the type of person that goes in an I am affirmation. So it was really fascinating. So that distant second person you is also another way that we can imagine looking outside of our own eyes and being observing ourselves. That's observing ourselves doing the thing as opposed to being the person doing the thing. Does that make sense?
That
I,
is,
I'm a better
yes.
writer than speaker.
No, this is wonderful. It's so interesting. I got lots of questions,
Okay.
and and this summit, as people who have come to many of them know, we get detailed. So there's no danger of speaking too much. So we've got at least three different kinds of affirmation right now. So we've
Yeah.
got the I'm not stressed about work affirmation. I'm relaxed about all the things I have to my task list. Then there is a kind of close second where I'm like, you write every day, you're the kind of person who finishes their projects. And then there's a sort of distant you where it's saying like, imagine you're going down to your desk, the desk you like in your office where you have your typewriter ready. Is that kind of what we're
That's
talking about?
yeah, that is it. And they each work best. So researchers, if now researchers, when I take all of the different research that I read and put it together, it's the we can see that they each work best in different situations. So first person affirmations work best when you typically have positive feelings about the activity that you're trying to achieve and that you're trying to create emotions and feelings. So that's where the first person affirmations work. The close second person affirmations work best if you need to distance yourself from negative feelings of a task or a goal. So if you want to improve your performance or your attitudes and your intentions, they also work best when you're doing something, the you works best, close you works best if you're doing something that you find difficult. And this is the big thing, things that require self-control or self-regulation, that's when you want to be using the you affirmations. And then the third person affirmations, where you're picturing yourself doing the thing, those are best if you need to adjust your self-concept around a desired behavior. So it's you, and we can think of, all of the different situations. So saying to oneself, I write every day, you can, as you're in your own experience, figure, well, do I need to adjust my self-concept? Like, how would I do that? One way that is often really effective is thinking about putting in the frame of writers who are successful. I want to be a successful writer. So writers who are successful write every day. You are a writer who wants to be successful. You are a successful writer. Like, you picture yourself in that successful writer on the stage doing the thing, or not on the stage. I mean, unless that is ultimately your goal, is to get that. But anyway, you know what I mean? Anyway, that is over to you, Daniel. I love this
This
stuff.
is so interesting. So I suppose my question is, um, if we have this idea about affirmation and different kinds of affirmation, um, do you find, or have you developed a particular kind of like protocol for affirmations? Like, is there a practical sort of how many we should have? Is there a particular approach you like?
For me, I still have affirmations on my monitor, like on sticky notes on my monitor. Um, Although they are different now than they used to be when I first started, because what I'm finding is, well, here, I mean, I don't have any that I would like say on any of the authors that I work with. I don't say you should have this many affirmations. It's more like, what are you struggling with, and what do you need to hear, and who do you need to hear it from to push past that block? Do you need to hear it from yourself? Is it an emotional thing that you just have to, like, you know focus on the positive, so you can take in, if your goal is, for instance, I keep coming back to writing every day, and I'm definitely not an author who says everyone should write every day. The whole Stephen King thing drives me mad, but it's an easy one because we hear it all the time, and Stephen King said it, so, and he is God, so that's often said. So it would be more like, if you're struggling and you're an author and you want that to be your reality, how can you frame the affirmation so that it actually serves your goal? I kind of think of it like, so for me, it would be more around, I take pride in not missing deadlines. So I've been a career ghostwriter since like my early 20s, which is more than 30 years. And I take great pride in not missing deadlines. So for me, a really positive affirmation is, I meet my deadlines, and that will get me to the chair and get me writing, because it's not the fact of sitting and writing every day. To me, that's just silly. Why would I sit and write every day if I don't have the, if the words aren't there, or if I don't have something pushing me? So I would say there aren't a particular number of them. It's just kind of circling around what you actually want to achieve and figuring out how to get there. Um, for me, I'm looking at like a couple of mine here. Um, well, this is a good one. So this isn't particularly related to my writing. It's related more to my business. Um, I got a card from a coach that says, I can do it. And I
That's
looked at
great.
that. It is kind of great. And yet, for me, what works better than I can do it, yeah, I know I can do it, but there's other things I want to do. For me, what works is I wrote on the back, you're already doing it, because
Nice.
it's it's taking that frame. That's one of mine. It's right there. I also have a you're already doing it here, right there, right there. You're already doing it. So when my negative voice comes in, my positive self-talk can say, you're already doing it. Um, what if success was my only option? That is, that's that's self-talk, right? And it's in the first person. What if success was my only option? I am speaking to myself. It's an emotional thing. It's not about behavior. It's that works. Uh, anyway, over
This
to
is, yeah, this is so interesting. And so, and I really like that framing of something like, uh, I take pride in meeting deadlines. That's something that you have a kind of emotional connection to. It's it's sort of affirming something that you already believe about yourself, and
yeah,
that you have some, you feel, but justified in feeling. It's not a behavior that you're trying to change. You sort of like, you're sort of using that source of strength. And so using this kind of rule, it's like, it makes sense for an I affirmation.
yeah,
Whereas, you're already doing it has a kind of, it does sound like a coach is speaking to you, even though you wrote the words out. Your brain experiences as if like that is the coach or the authority figure kind of, you know,
exactly.
talking you up.
Exactly. It kind of it makes me feel like the I can do it leaves me with a little bit of like, well, can I? But yeah, if I'm hearing that, like one of the people I really respect, another romance author who's a friend, and like if I hear her in my head, I'm already doing it, like you're already doing it, and I can go, yeah, I am already doing it. Right. Thank you. High five. So yeah.
So, and just to clarify, do you like literally come up with the person who's saying the affirmation? Like if someone you're already doing it on your desk, do you say, it is my friend?
It's really valuable. It can be really helpful in the same way.
Hmm.
With negative self-talk, it can be helpful to try to identify where those voices, pardon me, originally came from. It really can. If you've got, like for instance, with the deadline thing, when I hit deadlines, yes, I can say that one in the first person, but also in my mind, I have my editor who I respect and don't want to let down, right? So if I were to spin that one, I could actually use that one just as effectively as you hit your deadlines. If I start to slide, for instance, I could swap that affirmation, put it in Jen's voice, and it would be like, you hit deadlines. I'll be like, okay, yeah, I hit deadlines, because I don't want your schedule to get all screwed up. So yeah.
That's really great. I mean, it's a bit like getting free coaching from people. Like, you're not paying them, but they continue to
Very
talk
good.
to you. Um, and a friend of mine a long time ago said, like, the human brain is very powerful at imagining other people's reality. Like, that's maybe why we like fiction. We are very good at imagining people. And so imagining someone saying something to you it probably comes with a lot of power that, I don't know, it's hard to explain exactly, but I think that it does make sense that you would take on, you sort of, your picture of that person and their competence, their expertise, somehow is available to you in a way that it might not be, I don't know, in your everyday mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and your respect for them probably too, and you want them, you want to get their respect back. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really fun. I find affirmations now, before when I found them frustrating because they just didn't work for me. Now I find them fun because it's like a puzzle. How do you don't like, it's easy to read a book and a guru or a coach will say, or not a coach, but you'll read it in a blog post, will say, here are the affirmations, repeat these. I do a lot of, there's a little bit of exposure, money mindset affirmations, right? Like I still struggle with my relationship with money, and it's a process, like Renee Rose has written a fantastic book around money mindset for authors, and she's got affirmations in there, and I have to play with them to make them actually feel authentic and work for me so that I can say them and actually like, oh yeah, that feels like it's doing something. It's not just repeating a mantra in my head that's, ice cream, chocolate bars, whatever.
Um, do you distinguish between um the kind of affirmation that's a bit like um sort of, I would say like borders on it, has a kind of almost supernatural quality to it. You see there's like calling something to you that you don't already have. You know, I will, you could do, you will win the lottery in a year. You
Right.
could, there's versus, something that seems more um uh sort of grounded in what you're doing. Do you, like, you could imagine a different kind of affirmation that's like, I make sure I pay my bills every month.
Right.
Do you see it as difference between those kind of affirmation? Do you like the kind of affirmation that's saying like I'm summoning opportunities to me the whole
I,
time?
I mean, I'm not, so I can't say from a research point of view, but my instinct is I do love those. I do love those like aspirational affirmations. I love them.
Great.
Um, And I think those aspirational affirmations would fall into like visualizing yourself in the
Ah, yeah, yeah,
person,
yeah.
right? In the distant third person. So seeing myself as that author that I know I can be. I know I can be a six-figure author or a seven-figure author or a whatever it is, right? And yeah, so projecting myself forward into what does that look like? Does that look like, I specifics, like does that look like I have someone taking care of my yard and I'm sitting here imagining the nice pool boy cleaning my new pool because I'm a romance author, so of course I
Yeah,
have a
yeah, that
pool
makes
boy.
total sense. Yeah. Um, I love that. So that part of visualizing yourself in a kind of distant third person is picturing the future, picturing a life that you maybe part of you doesn't believe is possible. The part of you, the negative self-talk part of yourself is saying that will never happen. You don't deserve it. And this distant third person kind of visualizations are like helping to combat that
Exactly.
self-sabotage.
Yeah, it's like showing you it can be real. And who is it that said we was it like a Bill Gates quote? I don't remember who it is, but something like you have to everything that comes into being has to be done three times. Like first it's imagined and then it's what is that quote? And we have to first you picture it or imagine it, and nothing can be created until you've done that. So I do believe in that, and that desired behavior that goes along with getting there would become part of that visualization. So if I picture myself with a pool, how do I get there? Well, I have to sell more books. How do I do that? I have to write more books, right? Like, and then it becomes a lot easier to make that reality seem like something that is possible. But starting from that distant third down to the first, what is now that what can I draw on in myself to um, to actually do the work to achieve that.
I think that something that's so interesting, and you see different versions of this idea in a lot of different traditions and visions of the world. I think it's basically this feeling that um, we there's like a larger self that we
Mhm.
don't have easy access to. I mean, I, that's a very broad statement, but like you, you could, we've all had this experience at times where you just feel completely lost, trapped. What do I do? Or you're sort of dimly aware that you're kind of doing the same thing over and over again that you've done in the past, and you wish there was some way to like escape it, but you're not really, you're just not, it's not available to you. And somehow, whether through someone else, whether through a moment of sort of retreat, of mindfulness, suddenly things become clearer and more available, and that's still you, like you're the person making it available, but it's like, where was that person 10 minutes ago
Right.
when I was sort of fretting and stressing and, I don't know, rewriting chapter 2 again for the 85th time. um it's a sort of mysterious process. And so I love this idea of like using this kind of extended affirmation visualization as a sort of, as a way of trying to perhaps engage that bigger, that bit wider self, those more, those, to engage those kind of questions like, well, okay, if I want to, if I've got a pool in the future, how do I get the pool?
Mhm.
Which is different to sort of like, all right, that feeling of like, I've got to just plug away at this forever until things get better somehow.
Exactly. I think, no, yeah, that I mean, we think of goal, motivation, conflict for our characters all the time. And we as writers, I think it's really important as an individual, as myself, I have a goal that's connected to a motivation. And I know there's going to be conflict, like, maybe I could play that one down in my real life, but how I, I myself, it took a long time for me to start to understand, and I still am not 100% there, what my actual goal is as an author, and then connecting my motivation. So it's 2024. Last year I published one book. This year I might publish two novellas. I'm not still on the same track that I was on in 2020 and 2021. And in part, it's because I think I had a goal and a motivation and I hit it, and then I didn't adjust to a new one. So I'm still in that phase of, okay, where now? And we need that. I mean, that really makes a big difference in, I mean, you can't achieve goals if you don't set them. So, but in the self-talk too, if we bring it back around, like, so who am I as an author, and what is my goal there? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. uh Another question I had,
Okay.
which is, you've mentioned in the during the talk, sometimes these affirmations are things we literally say to ourselves. We're like,
Hmm.
we're saying them to us, but you've also have affirmations that you write down.
Yeah.
Could you talk a bit about that? Like, you've kind of, you find value, you find use in the affirmation kind of written down, easily accessible.
So
How does that work?
yeah, well, and I imagine that if we were to go back and look at more research, I am a visual learner. I don't maintain things that I hear at all. And I think that's probably part of why I have to write things down. I have to see things for them to be real. That is just my learning style. So I have one friend who records affirmations and records her voice, and she listens to it because that is the way she needs to kind of not embody, but to receive the self-talk. So I think that would be another layer of first figure out which an I, a close or distant you, and then how do you need to be receiving this information? Um, we can record meditations for ourselves, like I love falling asleep listening to a meditation. Just quiet, go down the stairs and open the door, and whatever happens, happens. I always fall asleep to them. Why not record those of ourselves with our affirmations, our visualizations? Um, I don't know if there's a best practice that we can say is for everybody. I think it's another one of those unique things. And journaling, sorry, and I just want to say, there's huge value, like Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. I have to put aside some of what she says in there because of my just my universal truths, but I think there's so much value in morning pages and just writing to get ideas out and then seeing what in fact is real for you. And if we have time at the end, I'll share an exercise that folks can do so they can start to understand their first, second, or third person affirmation visualizations. Affirmations will work best for them.
And then another sort of thought I had is that something that I know that athletes do
Mm.
is, I don't know if this quite counts as affirmation, but like visualizing success on a very detailed level. Like that's what I've
Yeah.
understood, is that there's that sort of picturing every step of success. Do you like that kind of that detailed visualization, or do you find that it's like, it's a bit hazier, there's a pool, we'll go from
Um,
there?
I mean, if I speak for myself, I am still I'm still, hazy, though I love hearing those stories of athletes who, even when they're in practice, I actually just read something recently, people were asking this football player, I believe it was, or possibly soccer player, something with a ball on a field. And like, why? It's only practice. Why are you running all the way to the end every single time? And he was saying, because I want my body to know this is what it's going to do in the moment when it counts. So I love that. And I think there's great value in doing that. For myself, like I said, I'm still in I'm back in, and we cycle. So I just want to say that too. Like the whole write every day. When one is working on a manuscript and has a deadline for an editor, or they've got their pre-order up on date on KDP, yeah, maybe write every day has to be, and then take a break. Like one does not have to do it every day for the rest of one's life, right? We cycle, we have projects, and we can go in and out. And I'm really a huge believer in seasonal flow. And myself, I'm definitely a binge and then relax, binge and then relax kind of human in all I do. I went
I,
off
I
topic.
had one I had one question to
Yeah.
finish up, which is, I can imagine there's someone in the room who is listening to this and thinks, you know, affirmations might be good for some people,
Mm.
but my subconscious is just a clear sea all the way down to the bottom. You know, I have no I don't think I need this. Do you think that, not know, I mean, there's probably someone who doesn't need it, but knowing humans, do you suspect that more people need this kind of self-talk than affirmative self-talk than we might think?
Knowing humans and knowing writers, I think that we all self-talk, whether or not our like bottom, our sea is blue or not. Like we all have self-talk, and there are phases in the process where I can't imagine a single author who doesn't fall into negative self-talk, because we are human, because we get scared, because we don't know things. So why not embrace the idea that we can counter that? We can actively or intentionally say, okay, negative voice, you're sitting there and I respect you. And how about I give a counter to that and propose, like maybe let's have a conversation inside our head about what is true, what could be true. Um, I, I mean, I believe that probably everybody does self-talk. Well, I can tell you, the research says 96% of us do. So 4% of people aren't engaging in talking to themselves inside their own heads. Um, would they be better to do? Who knows? Like if everything is going
Yeah.
so perfectly for you, maybe it could be doubly perfect if you were to engage in some kind of, visualization, aspirational thinking.
That's great. Um, that's wonderful. So you mentioned that you had an exercise with people.
Yeah, yeah.
Would
Okay,
you?
so this exercise asks you, it's kind of, pardon me, well, it's journaling basically. So you set your timer for 2 minutes and write in the first person voice exactly what you're thinking, what you're hearing, feeling, and believing about the quality of your writing, about your writing habits, about whatever comes up related to your writing process, but you're writing in the first person. And then you do that for 2 minutes. And then you set your timer for another 2 minutes. And imagine that you're in your own head and you're looking at yourself. So you set your timer for 2 minutes and you free write in the close second person voice. So you and what you need to do. So free write what you need to do to become the writer that you aspire to be. And you're focusing on your behaviors and your actions here. So the first one, you're focusing on your feelings. This one, your behaviors and your actions. And then your third person or your second person distant, imagine that you are the observer looking at yourself as the writer, and you are a writer who you respect, or it could be another writer who you respect who's pointing their finger at you and speaking and speaking. And set your timer for 2 minutes and free write in the third person. So again, it's the you about the kind of writer that you aspire to be. And on that one, focus on your attitudes and your values. So that person could be talking to you and focusing on your attitudes and values. And just see which one resonates. You will have had the 3 different options of the way you can embrace your self-talk, and see which one feels like that's the one that would be the most effective for me, where I am right now in my process. Because next week, it might be different.
Yeah. This is great. I really like this. Everyone, I'm going to try this, and I'll report back. Thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful presentation. I really enjoyed it. It's made me think a lot more about my own involvement, responsibility in my own sort of moods, my own picture of myself, and my own sort of developing, changing, I don't know, picture of my own life. Uh, that's fantastic. I, there's lots of ways that writers can learn from you. You have a wonderful bonus that you're going to share with the past buyers for the summit.
I
Would you just mention
do.
that what that is?
I do. It is currently, as we record, an out of print book, which is actually, it's called Scrappy Rough Draft. I have to read the subtitle. Use science to strategically motivate yourself and finish writing your book. And it was written by my alter ego, Donna Barker. That's what it looks like.
Wonderful.
So you will be getting an out of print book. One day it might come back in print, but that is what you'll get. And it's got all kinds of exercises. How many chapters? Like 21 chapters of all different ways that you can look at your own brain and your own process and figure out ways to overcome things that might slow you down or stop you in your writing.
That's amazing. Wow. Everyone go get the pass. Now, finally, this has been so educational. What are some ways that you help writers? What's a great sort of next step for someone who wants to learn more from you?
Well, first of all, you start writing romance because I only work with romance authors. So my evil,
Great decision in general.
there you go, good decision. So if you are an early career or pre-published romance author, I would be delighted to work with you. I have an online membership community. It's called Author Ever After, and the website is also Author Ever After. And we do masterminds every Wednesday, and I hold a publishing office hours every other week and bring in great speakers to provide workshops. And I also have a course which will be launching again in the spring. It's called Romance Your Launch, and it will take you from wherever you are right now and get you set up so that when your book is ready, and I really recommend, we could be promoting our books months and months before they're ever ready to publish. And I recommend that. So we will, in that course, in that program, it includes live, once a week live, and pre-recorded videos and exercises and homework. And it will get you everything you need so that when your book is ready to launch, you are ready to launch as an author with all of your assets in place. And it's a whole lot of fun. So
That sounds great. Okay, so romance authors, go take a look. If you're not a romance author, maybe go take a look too, but just just look. This
no. Take a look and then rethink your thoughts. What is it that Qui-Gon Jinn says? Like in his talking to the death dealer. What is it? You will change your life. I don't know. He does
so
some.
become a romance author when
There you
you
go. Become a romance author.
become a romance author.
Join the light side, not the dark side.
Excellent. Well, we're changing lives here. Thank you so much. This has been great. Everyone, go look at that. And if you got the pass, or if you need to buy the pass, you can go sign up and get this amazing out of print book. Thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
It was so much fun. I hope that it was clear. And if you have any questions, those of you who are interested and want me to explain more, I've got an email address. I'm at my desk all day. Just send me an email. I'm happy to reply.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.